In a world that stretched between centuries, the story began not in a windowless room, nor at the edge of a beach, but within the marble corridors of an ancient health pavilion. Isabella, a young woman of French descent, stood quietly in the still air of the 19th century, her fingertips brushing the cool stone walls as she traced the lineage of her past. She had come to this place, a sanctuary for the weary and the wounded, not to seek answers, but to understand the invisible forces that shaped her life. The halls were grand, yet filled with the quiet hum of people moving through their own stories, their own silent battles. The air was heavy with the scent of herbal tinctures and medicinal oils, wafting from the room down the corridor where the healers worked, tirelessly, to mend bodies and minds alike. Isabella breathed deeply, feeling the ancient weight of the place press gently upon her chest. The health pavilion was a relic of a time when human understanding of the body was limited to what the senses could perceive. Yet even here, in these hallowed halls of healing, there was something more, something beyond medicine, something unspoken but deeply felt. She began walking, her footsteps echoing softly on the marble floors, her heart both heavy and light. The sunlight filtered through the large arched windows, casting golden rays upon the floor, illuminating the path ahead. With each step, she felt herself move further from her own thoughts, slipping slowly into the rhythm of the place, the timelessness of healing that transcended the centuries. And though she walked alone, she was not alone. Others walked these halls just as she did, seeking their own forms of healing, searching for what lay beyond the physical realm. The healer's hands worked tirelessly, but it was the mind, the spirit, that carried the true key to well-being. The scent of dried lavender and eucalyptus filled the air, their fragrance weaving through Isabella's senses like a delicate thread. Each breath she took brought her deeper into the space, grounding her, yet lifting her at the same time. The soft shuffle of slippers on stone echoed faintly in the background, mingling with the occasional distant murmur of voices. Calm, measured tones that seemed to float through the halls like whispers of reassurance. She paused, her gaze catching on the glint of sunlight reflecting off a small basin of water in the center of the corridor. The water rippled gently, a mirror-like surface that reflected not just her face, but something deeper, a version of herself she hadn't yet met. The sight tugged at something within her, a reminder that the healing she sought might not be physical, but something far more profound. Her fingers dipped into the cool water, sending tiny ripples across its surface. The sensation of the water against her skin was both invigorating and soothing, a paradox much like her own emotions, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, but always shifting, always flowing. And as she stood there, fingers tracing the edge of the stone basin, the past and present began to merge. The mirrored surface of the water seemed to warp time itself, pulling her deeper into the moment. In the reflection, she could see not just herself, but the shadows of those who had come before her, women who had walked these halls, seeking the same answers, the same solace. She imagined their stories, women from different centuries, different lands, but all connected by the same thread of need, the same desire for understanding. The cool marble beneath her feet was worn smooth by their steps, and the very air seemed to hum with their presence, a quiet chorus of voices that whispered of resilience, of strength, of healing. Isabella's gaze remained fixed on the rippling water, her breath slowing as she sank deeper into her own thoughts. The marble halls around her grew softer, the sounds of the health pavilion fading into the background as her focus shifted inward. The sensation of time began to blur, minutes stretched into hours, or perhaps seconds. She couldn't quite tell. Her body felt weightless now, as though she were floating just above the ground. The world around her seemed to dissolve, leaving only the soft rhythm of her breath and the cool touch of the water on her fingertips. In, out. Her breath matched the gentle rise and fall of her chest, a steady calming rhythm that carried her further into herself. As she breathed, she began to let go of her worries, her fears, the weight of the expectations she had carried for so long. Her thoughts grew quieter, smaller, until they were nothing more than whispers on the edge of her consciousness, like the faint echoes of footsteps down a distant corridor. In this space, time no longer mattered. The world outside the pavilion, the noise, the chaos, the demands of life, faded into insignificance. Here there was only stillness and breath, the deep, steady rhythm of life itself. And as she sank deeper into this stillness, Isabella felt something shift within her. Her body relaxed, the tension melting from her muscles, her mind softening at the edges. She was no longer confined to the physical space of the health pavilion, no longer tethered to the weight of her past or her future. She was simply here, in this moment, free to just be. Her thoughts drifted like the ripples on the water, flowing in and out of her awareness. The walls of the pavilion seemed to fade, and she found herself standing, not within the marble halls, but at the edge of a vast open space, a place where the mind and the body could truly heal. In this expanded mental space, the subtle emotions began to take hold. The whispers of reassurance she had heard earlier now echoed within her mind, planting seeds of understanding, of transformation. The words were soft but powerful, like drops of water slowly wearing away at the old patterns of her mind. Healing is not something that happens to you, the voice within her whispered. It is something you create. You have the power within you, the strength to heal, to change, to grow. The words wove themselves into her consciousness, gently replacing the old stories she had told herself about her worth, her health, her ability to move through the world. You are not broken, the voice continued, soft but insistent. You are whole. You have always been whole. With each word, Isabella felt a new understanding begin to take root within her. The old beliefs, the fears and doubts that had held her back for so long began to unravel. They were like worn threads in the fabric of her mind, threads that no longer served her, that no longer had a place in the story she was creating for herself. The voice grew quieter now, more subtle, as it guided her toward a deeper truth. Your mind is a mirror, it said, reflecting the world around you. And just as a mirror can be cleaned, so too can your mind be cleared of the thoughts that no longer serve you. The metaphor sank deep into her awareness, and she could feel the truth of it resonating within her. The old patterns, the beliefs about her health, her worth, her ability to navigate the world, were not permanent. They were simply reflections, distortions that could be shifted, changed, transformed. You are the mirror and the reflection, the voice whispered. You have the power to change what you see, to change how you see yourself. In that moment, something deep within Isabella clicked into place. The web of her thoughts, the tangle of beliefs about her health and well-being began to shift. She could see now how the systems of care that surrounded her, the health systems, the support networks, were not just external structures. They were mirrors too, reflecting back the beliefs she held about herself. You are not alone, the voice reminded her. You are supported. You are held. Isabella felt the truth of those words settle into her bones. The healers in the pavilion, the other women who walked its halls, even the systems of care that had once seemed distant and impersonal. They were all part of a larger network, a web of support that held her, even when she felt alone. And as she stood there, in the quiet stillness of her mind. She realized that the support she sought was not just external. It was within her too. She was her own source of strength, her own healer. The systems around her were there to guide her, to hold her, but the true power of healing lay within her. She could feel it now, a soft glowing warmth in the center of her chest. It radiated outward, filling her body with a sense of peace, of calm. The old fears, the doubts about her ability to navigate her health and her life began to fade. They were no longer relevant, no longer necessary. With each breath, Isabella felt herself becoming lighter, freer. The weight of her past, of the stories she had told herself, lifted from her shoulders, leaving only the present moment, only the calm certainty of her own strength. As Isabella opened her eyes, the world around her came back into focus, but it was different now. The health pavilion was still there, the marble halls stretching before her, but they no longer felt imposing or distant. Instead, they felt warm, welcoming, a reflection of the support that had always been there for her, even when she couldn't see it. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill her lungs, grounding her in the present moment. Her body felt lighter, her mind clearer, as though the weight she had carried for so long had finally been lifted. With each step she took down the corridor, Isabella moved forward, not just through the health pavilion, but through her life. The systems of care that surrounded her were no longer distant structures, but a web of support, both external and internal, that held her, guided her, and gave her strength. And as she walked, her heart full of peace, of calm, she knew that she was ready to face whatever came next. She was whole, she was strong, and in this moment, she knew that she had always been enough. Her journey had only just begun.